So in this video, I'm going to explain active transport and membrane-assisted transport. So, active transport. And so the key thing to note for active transport is it moves against the concentration gradient. And so what that means is essentially if you have a membrane here, a lot of particles here, and a couple here, normally if it was diffusion, things would go this way. However, in active transport, ATP is being used to drive these molecules over there against the concentration gradient. And you need something to push it across, right? Because diffusion wouldn't work. And so it uses carrier proteins. And these proteins pump the molecules or ions across. And so, very importantly, I'll make this in red, it uses ATP. So it uses ATP directly. And so let me give you an example of active transport. It's the most commonly known example. Let me clear this. And so it is the sodium-potassium pump. As you can see in this video, in this picture, essentially what happens is 3 potassium leaves cell and 3 sodium leaves the cell and 2 potassium enters the cell. And it uses ATP to do this. And so, to begin with, the extracellular fluid, it has, so outside of the cell, outside has more sodium, and the inside, I'll write it down here, has more potassium. And so essentially what's going on is it's keeping the concentration gradient, which means the difference between the concentrations of particles, really high. So there's a lot of sodium outside and a lot of potassium on the inside of the cell. And so there's 3 different types of active transport. So let me clear this. So active transport, use black, 3 different types. There's uniport, symport, and antiport. And so what uniport is imagine a protein with a channel that only allows one molecule to pass. So essentially it just allows one molecule to pass one way. Pretend that's a cell membrane, into or out of the cell. Now for symport, imagine the protein, the channel's bigger, or there are 2 channels. And what happens is 2 different molecules essentially move in the same way. So they're both moving this way. to the inside or outside of the cell. It's just a broad category of transport proteins. And finally, we have antiport. And imagine essentially two channels. And I gave you an example of that before, the sodium-potassium pump. So sodium goes out, and then potassium gets brought in. And so it moves in opposite directions is the key thing to note for antiport. It sends two molecules or two things in opposite directions. And actually in this video I don't think I'll have time to cover membrane-assisted transport, but that will be the next one.